never forget my grandfather is a Holocaust survivor. So he wasn't in the camps, but they got out prior to all that. They saw the rise of Nazism and stuff. So I'll never forget my grandfather telling me, or me telling my grandfather when the Nazis were on the screen in Raiders of the Lost Ark that, I really don't like those guys, and he said, I don't either.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from somewhere in New Zealand, it's The Global Show with your host, Dave Benson.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to The Global Show. I'm your host, Dave Benson, and this is the #1 independent talk show on the planet. That's right, #1. No, I'm not going to be taking any questions at this time on that. Now, before anyone in the comments says, Dave, that sounds made up. Correct, but confidence is free and therapy's expensive. So here we are. I'm also experimenting with the show this week. As you can probably tell, I'm filming the monologue in vertical. Do I look slimmer? I thought so. Yes, vertical. Welcome to 2026, everyone, because nothing says late night talk show energy than me looking like I accidentally opened TikTok. The directors and filmmakers are thrilled. The traditionalists are furious. And YouTube is somewhere in the corner whispering, I will decide if this lives or dies. But that's the fun of it. Trying things, breaking things, pretending it was always the plan. We are officially in that part of the year where everyone is back at work, but emotionally still on holiday. Emails start with Happy New Year, and they end with sorry for the delay, which is how I run this show. Now, if you're new here, welcome to you. And if you're returning, welcome back. And thank you for pretending this is a professional operation. Quick reminder, follow the show. Whenever you see the scroll, YouTube for the long form, Shorts for the chaos, Instagram for the behind the scenes, LinkedIn for whenever I try to look responsible. All the links are there, no pressure, but also kind of huge pressure. And this brings me to this week's most important question, which is exactly what Phil Collins wanted answering. What was Phil Collins feeling when he sang In the Air Tonight? Was he genuinely opening up about a deep personal stomach issue, or did he have prior knowledge of some kind of impending alien invasion? Legally, he probably could not say any more about that, because listen to it again. That is not digestive discomfort. That is a man burdened by secrets. Anyway, no more on that. Let's kick into the monologue.
Gears engaged, pressure steady, system at peak performance. Standing by.
Now let's start with the news. Now these are real stories, which is important because at no point this week did anyone stop and say, maybe we shouldn't. In Missouri, several monkeys escaped into a residential area. Actual monkeys running loose, and immediately the internet responded by posting AI-generated photos of the monkeys being caught, not because they were actually caught, but because people wanted closure. We are now at the point where reality happens and the internet says, no thank you, we'll finish that story ourselves. Animal Control is still searching, but don't worry, Facebook already solved it with a picture that never really happened. In Baltimore, a man has collected nearly 500 hubcaps. He found them on the road and turned them into a large public art sculpture. This started as a hobby and now, well, it's his identity. It says tech reviewers handed out the Worst in Show awards for unnecessary AI products, including AI fridges, AI doorbells, and AI companions. None of these fix loneliness, they just watch it happen. In the UK, a man built the world's fastest motorised wheelie bin. This thing goes 66 miles per hour. Not fast enough to go back in time, Tom. This is not innovation. This is boredom with tools. He named it the General Waste, which is either a pun or an autobiography. And finally, a tiny dog went missing in Texas 5 years ago and was just reunited with her family after being found over 1,000 miles away in Illinois. No one knows quite how she got there, and no one questions it because, well, dogs have earned our trust. Let's have a look at the YouTube news. Markiplier released the final trailer for his self-funded horror movie, and it's actually getting a real theatrical release. YouTubers are not trying acting anymore, they're just making movies. iShowSpeed raced an Olympic-level sprinter and won! The sprinter slipped, but YouTube does not care about that nuance. A YouTuber turned 18, opened an OnlyFans page, and reportedly made millions in one day. Uncomfortable? but educational. A Korean family channel became the most viewed YouTube channel in the world, meaning the most successful content on earth right now, well, it's wholesomeness. VTubers continue to dominate with animated shark girls pulling millions of subscribers, and a college student revealed he made thousands of dollars a month posting AI-generated videos about nothing, for no one, with incredible success. Bastard. And finally, YouTube quietly removed all of its old rewind videos without explanation. No one knows why. Let's have a look at the podcast news. Spotify opened a high-end podcast studio in Los Angeles, turning podcasts into talk shows, well, without applause. Apple announced a Creator Studio subscription, bundling editing tools into a monthly fee because nothing says creative freedom like a payment plan. Variety launched a daily news podcast, turning Hollywood reporting into a Hollywood product. The Golden Globes finally infused the podcast category, which means podcasts are now underground, but they're also winning trophies. A major actress signed a 7-figure podcast deal, proving money finally makes noise. Netflix has started streaming video podcasts, meaning, well, everything is now everything. Podcasts are becoming video, video is becoming television, and television, well, that's on YouTube. Podcast conferences are now massive gatherings of people flying across the world to talk about, well, talking. So let's have a recap of today's. Monkeys are on the loose. AI is confidently wrong. YouTube is television. Television is podcasts. And podcasts are conferences. Which brings us to today's guest. If you want to survive the creative landscape, you need to see what this person can do. They are phenomenal. Tom, let's have these titles rolled. Roll them up, roll them up, roll them up. Today's guest grew up in the heart of San Fernando Valley, surrounded by the kind of culture and stories that would later fuel his creativity. After training at AFI's prestigious directing fellowship, he went on to carve out a career as a screenwriter, director, and editor with a string of acclaimed shorts like No Second Acts and The Red Font. His work is sharp, bold, and layered, and his later feature screenplay, On the Record, has been teared up on the 2025 festival circuit, earning finalist and winner nods on some of the industry's toughest competitions. Please welcome to the show, Adam Goudchaux. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, it's Goudchaux, or the Americanized version is Goudchaux. I suppose the French the French version is Goudchaux. Yeah.
Now, Adam, the biggest question on my mind right now is, what is your Halloween costume going to be? Are we going super spooky or taming it down?
Happy Halloween to you, by the way. It's Halloween there, right?
Yes.
It's the day before here in Los Angeles. I am not, sadly, I am not dressing up this year. My wife wanted us to be the bride and the monster, from Frankenstein. She's going to dress like the bride, dress up as the bride. I have to work, sadly. I have to pay bills. So my editorial job is a night shift. That's how I make ends meet. Besides the writing and stuff. But
let's wind it back to the start, Adam. So you've got an amazing stream of work, but how did it all start? Was your life as a child was movies the big thing for you? Were you always passionate about that? Was that the direction you wanted to go in?
Yeah. So growing up in the San Fernando Valley, which is, adjacent, very, very close to Hollywood and all the big studios. My family was not in the movie business. They were in the textile business. My mom was a teacher and she sold textiles. My dad, same. Just like a middle-class Jewish family, living in the Valley. And I always liked movies, grew up with, all the cable channels and video stores and consumed movies, at a young age, but never had an inkling of getting into the business of making movies or even considering myself in that field, period. The first movie I remember seeing is Raiders of the Lost Ark. I saw it with my grandfather.
Classic.
In the movie theater. And never forget my grandfather is a Holocaust survivor. So he wasn't in the camps, but they got out prior to all that. But they saw the rise of Nazism and stuff. So I'll never forget my grandfather telling me, or me telling my grandfather when the Nazis were on the screen in Raiders of the Lost Ark that, I really don't like those guys, and he said, I don't either. And I didn't know. I was 6 at the time, so I didn't know the whole history. And I'll never forget the ending with the face melting. It just burned in my brain when the ark opens up and melts all the people's faces.
Spoiler.
Yeah. That's true. Sorry, spoiler. If you haven't seen Raiders of the Lost Ark by now, I'm sorry. But yeah, so that was my exposure to movies, and just as a consumer of them. And then when I hit college age, early college age, I had a job, and late high school, I got a job in a movie theater in North Hollywood. It was called the Century 7 movie theater. I don't even know if it's still there. And I was a doorman, and got to consuming a bunch of movies there because I got free access to them. And I was starting to get more into the philosophy behind movies, the style of movies, and etc. It was, it was the time of Tarantino, and it was the early 90s. So it was the first week I worked at this movie theater was Batman Returns was opening.
1980. Yeah. Oh, no, 92.
1990. Yeah, 1992.
Yeah.
So that was my first weekend. It was very busy. But you had those movies, and you had the indies, and you had the Tarantinos, and you had the Spike Lees, and it was all happening at that time. And I was still peripherally taking all that in. And then I'll be honest with you, one day after work in 1994, I went in and I caught a screening of Schindler's List, which was playing at the movie theater. And it goes back to Spielberg, right? So I always remembered Spielberg as this popcorn filmmaker. I hadn't seen The Color Purple. I hadn't seen his more serious work. I've only seen his, Raiders and his Jurassic Park, and same year. And it had a profound effect on me as a kid whose grandparents were survivors. This black and white, gritty tale with an unlikable protagonist who has flaws, and then finds redemption at the end of the movie really struck me. I was like, if something's happening here. Spielberg can make a movie like this with really graphic violence and sex and just all the stuff that goes on in that movie, and do it in such an artful way. It just inspired me that, you know what, I want to make movies. And so I took my first film class in a junior college at a place called Los Angeles Valley Junior College. And my film professor there, I couldn't have had a better first film professor. His name was Joseph DeCurso. An amazing class of just an amazing broad historical view of all of cinema. And I just, from there on, I just got that bug, and I just consumed everything. And then I got a job at a video store.
Blockbuster?
No, an independent video store, thankfully. Blockbuster was the enemy. It was called 2020 Video in Studio City, and it was quite the hub for filmmakers that would come there, because it was right next to the hills where they all lived, the Hollywood Hills. So people like Paul Thomas Anderson and a lot of directors would come in there and rent stuff, because we were that store that had that hard to find stuff. So I just consumed all that, and I just read everything I could on film, and took in this. I try to develop an encyclopedic mind for cinema. It's not as sharp as it used to be. I am hitting the golden age of 50. in late October. But it's still there, and I still watch a movie a day. I say a movie a day keeps the doctors away. I consume movies still on that level, but uh, so yeah. And then consumed all that, got my like education that way. Plus, went to Long Beach State, which is a state college, and that's where I took my first real filmmaking classes. I made a short film there called Arbuckle that did okay in festivals and won some awards. It was about Fatty Arbuckle, so it was about the silent film star Fatty Arbuckle. If you don't know that story, a very tawdry tale from the 1920s, and I did it in the style of a silent film. So I always had this like confluence of like the actual physical machinations of how films were made, film history in my films. I guess that would be kind of sort of meta quality to my films. Um, and then I took a break between getting my bachelor's degree at Long Beach State in film and ending up at AFI. So it was a 5-year hiatus. And I kind of, between Long Beach State and AFI, I kind of had some assistant jobs and I was doing some PA work, and it just wasn't my world, man. I worked for some pretty bad bosses, and worked for very little money, and it really soured me to the industry. And then I just decided to sit down, and I was like, well, I'm like going nowhere right now. So I just wrote this short script and decided to submit it to AFI. It was a short script based on the Edward Hopper painting called Office at Night. It was just like, and this painting is just two people in a very stressful situation late at night standing in an office. And I just like wrote a scenario of what might be happening there, you know?
Yeah.
And that got me into AFI. That plus my article reel.
Wow.
Yeah. And I got into both screenwriting and directing, but you can only choose one medium when you're at AFI, so one track, and I chose directing. Looking back, I probably should have just chosen screenwriting, because I haven't directed a film in, what is it, 10 years, 11 years, a short film. I did a short zombie film like 11, 12 years ago, whose title I can't even recollect right now. But so I just decided to focus in on writing at post AFI. You know, it's more my speed. Directing is a very stressful job.
Yeah.
And I've directed several shorts, and everything after Arbuckle was just like this slog of nerves and anxiety that sometimes got the best of me and sometimes didn't. And sometimes it affected the work and sometimes it didn't. I'll just be brutally honest. I was dabbling with some, substances, mainly alcohol back then. I am going on sober since 2008. So
That's a huge congratulations.
Thank you. And so I hit a bottom in 2008, but during my like super formative filmmaking years, there was always that element of substances and other ancillary activities that would take away my focus from filmmaking. So I would say that it's a story of lost opportunity, sort of, because I do feel like I'm having my second act resurgence now at the age of 50 with On the Record, which is my screenplay that has been going through, as you said, the festival circuit, and it is getting a lot of attention. And I wrote on the record during COVID because the job I currently have was laid off from that job, and I was super bitter, and it was a very depressing time. And there was COVID, and we don't have to get into politics, but politically things weren't great, and I didn't like where the United States was in that time. I don't like where it is now, but that's all I'll say about that. And so I was bitter, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to write this this screenplay that I've had kicking in my head for years. And the premise of the screenplay is it's set in the near future, Los Angeles. And these things that we're using right here to record this, your lovely show, are gone. Yeah. Their cell phones and social media and any access to the internet has been eliminated. It's a fantasy, for sure.
It's a dream.
It's a dream. It's a fantasy. It's people are talking again, and you got no choice. But there's isolation too. But print journalism is king again. Oof. So we're following this young aspiring music journalist. He isn't in the beginning, but he wants to be. But he works at a local newspaper in Los Angeles, and gets the chance to write his first story as a music journalist about a new psychedelic drug that allows you to viscerally experience the death of famous rock stars through a confluence of vinyl and a drug that this ex-pharmaceutical family kid invented. Well, he's older now. And a certain track of music that opens up your synapses, and there's a whole process as to how it happens. But you see first person deaths of rock stars, very grim, very dark. That's me. But there's comedy in there, if you can believe it. And there's dark comedy. That's my genre. And this drug helps you figure out past deaths, maybe in your own past. So you can go back, and possibly if the elements are there and correct and right, you can go back and see the death of a lost love, let's say. And that's what this main character explores in this movie. And it's kind of like, a lot of people are telling me it's like Back to the Future, because you are going back in time, but not physically going back in time, but in your head. And if you recall the film Strange Days from the mid-90s, that's a touchstone. Repo Man from the mid-80s is also a touchstone. It's set in that kind of Repo Man world where I always say in Repo Man that it feels like the apocalypse has happened, but the characters in the film haven't gotten the memo yet. Because that's how that's how I hope On the Record reads and feels. And if one day it gets up on a screen, I hope that it portrays that. And ultimately there is hope and redemption in this story, but at a cost, And it goes to, so you have to go to, there has to be trauma. It's a lot about the use of trauma to fix your problem psychologically. It's that's what it explores.
Do you think that your mentioning of losing technology is something that you personally want or personally see as a benefit these days? Is that what you were looking at it from in terms of that perspective when you saw it?
It's a good question. Yes. I wish that we can get rid of these things. I don't think it's possible. I grew up in an age before, and so I'm sure you did too, where these things didn't exist. You had to remember phone numbers and call people and use maps and remember where things were. and I've fallen into this cycle of depending on this thing just as much as the next person. I mean, I try to moderate it and limit it as much as because I'm not on any social medias, as you probably discovered, except for LinkedIn. And so I think these things have, in the beginning, it seemed like they were like a great idea. You're in constant communication with people and you can get a hold of somebody at any time. You can look up something at any time. And it's just this wealth of information in one place. But then we, as humans, tend to take these things and go, how are we gonna monetize this? How are we gonna use this for ill-begotten gains instead of helping humanity? And I think we're at a zenith of that right now. There's these things are like a Big Brother now, in 1984, Big Brother techno fascist states. That's what people want to use these things for and are currently using them for. So I do long for the days of before cell phones. And I think that's in the zeitgeist. I think people are responding to this screenplay specifically because they also deep down wish that these things would go away, that cell phones would go away.
I don't know. I don't know what the end goal is in terms of cell phones, in terms of how we're using them. You're quite right. I mean, it was developed as a communication tool. I remember in the 80s, the big phones, and it was great that you could call someone, but you couldn't afford to because it cost too much. But then it swiftly moved to making the phones smaller, so everyone had one. And then we made them bigger and said, we're going to put the world on this thing. So that as much information as you can imagine in your pocket. And no one ever uses that information correctly as it was intended. They use it to watch cat videos or whatever else goes on. So, or shows like this.
And that's right.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And that's the least of it, right? Yeah.
Yes, it's the doom scrolling. It's the it's not even taking in content. It's being able to swipe it so fast and just ignore what people are trying to advertise or show you, whatever. It's insane. And I also yearn for a simpler time. And when I saw MTV finishes this year, I think it's December. Yeah. And, you're from you're 5 years on me, but we're from the same kind of era. And MTV, man, you remember when that came out in the 80s, and it was just a mind-blowing. And I always associate it with, and it's summer for me, and it was the music blaring on the TV. It was a beautiful hot day, and I'm like, oh, can life get any better? But yeah, it's all going away.
I know. I'm still a big physical media guy. I mean, videos were great, and some of them better than others, and just that it seemed like MTV was like a big middle finger to corporate America, even though it became very corporate pretty quickly. But it was highly influential on me. I mean, I would sit there and watch, me specifically in the 90s. I couldn't wait for 120 Minutes, which was the one that played all the independent alternative punk rock kind of videos and stuff. And I liked Headbangers Ball and all that. And yeah, it was highly influential. I mean, the new Nirvana video was coming on, and it's airing at 3:00, and I had to be right in front of the TV to see it, I do long for that kind of like, what's the word for it? Must see watching of a television where you have that like common experience that everybody else is watching it too. Now it's like you watch it on your own time. You binge watch. You fly by night. It's like you said, you doom scroll and you're going through these stories and you're just like, oh, that's cool, and it's just like in and out. It's fly by night stuff. Very little of it sticks. It's dopamine hits. I mean, occasionally now I will say that there are like some great movements that have come out of the internet and People get stories out on the internet that would not ordinarily be highlighted by the mainstream media or traditional media sources, and that's great. It's just that now with these algorithms and it's just like they can curate things just for you, and it's a bubble. It makes the bubbles. Everyone is in more of their own bubble now, and I know that's kind of a cliche, but it's so true.
Yes.
But like people like you can use this as like it says in this app. It's a studio on your phone, and that's great. I mean, having that, it does democratize that access. It does give everybody a platform now. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. I can't answer that. I mean, I do get a lot of information from shows like yours. A lot of political stuff on Substack is a great place to go now. And all these people they just have a platform, and it's how they use it.
But the downside of that is, I fully agree, but it tailors its content to the messaging that you want to hear, I find. So if you're a X supporter, let's just say X, let's not go into who you may support, but if you're an X supporter, your content is tailored towards that. The people who support that X are tailored towards what you get to see, how you interpret that information and what you find about it. But then if you're a Y supporter, then it's exactly the opposite, and the two clash. So it's almost breeding into your brain what you want to believe or hear, which may not necessarily be the right information.
That is correct. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But I do think there is still, with all the algorithms and the content being spoon-fed to you, I still think there is a moral center that we all have, that I would like to think we all have, that we adhere to.
Are you up for some fast-fire questions? Let's move away from the politics.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
What's the one thing, Adam, that you can't live without?
Movies.
Fair enough. What's your favorite movie?
I knew you were going to ask that.
Yeah, people hate it when I ask that.
If I had to give you one, it would be Martin Scorsese's Mean Streets.
Ooh.
But I can't. It's a whole group of films from that era, from the 70s. Yeah.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Last song you listened to on a streaming service, not the radio, so like a Spotify or an Apple or wherever you get your music. What's the last song you listened to?
Does YouTube count?
YouTube counts, yeah.
Okay. I listened to the record Kiss Alive 2.
Okay.
Kiss, because the Ace Frehley, their guitarist, just died.
Yes, very sad.
Yeah.
Hidden talent that nobody knows about.
Pretty good ice hockey player.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Book that changed your perspective.
The Great Gatsby.
Ooh, it's a great book. If you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd probably be running a record store.
Cool. What's the worst job you ever had?
An assistant to a terrible independent producer.
What's your guilty pleasure snack?
Peanut butter, jam, and Triscuits.
Triscuits? What's Triscuits?
A Triscuit is like a salty cracker that they have here in the States. Like a wheat cracker that's woven. You put some jam and peanut butter on it, and you get the salt and the sweet.
Wow.
It's a thing that I don't know if anybody else does it, but I do it.
Smooth or crunchy peanut butter?
Regular, smooth. peanut butter.
Smooth.
Not crunchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. What app do you use the most?
LinkedIn or Letterboxd.
Nice.
Yeah.
A country that you still want to visit?
Japan.
Japan is cool. I'd like to visit Japan.
Mm.
Best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Don't underestimate your audience.
Ooh. If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would you have?
Okay. Arthur Lee, who was the singer of my favorite music group of all time called Love, an LA psychedelic rock band from the 1960s. I would have, he passed away, but I would have dinner with him. Franklin Roosevelt.
Ooh.
Love to have dinner with him. He's my favorite president in the history of this country. And Martin Scorsese.
Oof. That'd be a good dinner. It'd be an interesting dinner with those 3.
Oh, they're all at the same dinner?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
In one word, how would you like to be remembered?
One word. I'm looking for the word. Authentic.
Ooh, nice word. Adam, what have you got coming up in the future? What can we all look forward to from yourself?
Right. So on the record, I'm still going through rewrites with it. Currently in a fellowship, so that's still ongoing, and I hope to get it sold and up on a screen at some point. Not me directing it, but somebody else. And then I am starting a new screenplay called Needles and Pins, which will be a autobiographical, like American Graffiti, Dazed and Confused-esque look at my youth in the Valley in the 1990s.
Nice. That'd be very cool.
Yeah. One set over one night, and one of those kind of like 24-hour period and big decision-making moment of my life. But, semi-autobiographical. It's not going to be fully, but a lot of me is going to be in it.
Love it. And where would you like your details? For anyone to find details about your movies or what you've been doing or what's coming up, where would you like? Up, down, left, right?
You can always find me on LinkedIn under my name, Adam Goudchaux, and you can actually, On the Record is purchasable right now on Amazon. If you can get a hard copy of the screenplay or a Kindle copy. And if you look up on Amazon, if you just type in On the Record Adam Goudchaux, it will pop up if you're interested in reading it. My latest draft is on there. It's $9.99. I would love for that to happen.
We will put the details right down here so everyone can see it. Adam, it's an absolute pleasure to catch up with you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. This was really fun. Thank you.
It was fun. We're going to be back right after these messages. What's that, Tom? Are we sponsored by anyone? No, Tom, you know clearly we're not sponsored by anyone at all. Apple. Apple doesn't sponsor this show. Not yet. I just simply love the way that all of their devices integrate with each other seamlessly. And, it just works. But no, they're definitely not a sponsor of the show. Yet. Oh, look at that, Tom. Look at that. It's just working. It's just working. What's that? Oh, I can see it on my phone at the same. This is amazing. FaceTime. Friggin' brilliant, that is.